public would like to make a comment, please raise your digital hand and we will unmute you. Okay, seeing none, let's move right into presentation and discussion items. 4A is the superintendent evaluation. Annie, can you take us through all your accomplishments for the last year?
Sure. Happy to do that. Just a reminder, this is designed to work in concert with those superintendent updates. So that is also designed as a way for the public to keep track of our work, but also for all of you to kind of have a weekly ongoing evidence or people over there doing anything. And so those two things kind of go together. These were the priorities that we established in the fall. You hear from me and the building principals and Celia. So these are the priorities we established this year. We continue to make great progress on constantly implementing our My College career and academic plan. So that's embedded into our advisory curriculum. We'll continue to work on that. And I provided examples for you of some of the work that middle school teachers did on the advisory curriculum, and how we differentiated advisory activities by grade level this year. We have increased enrollment in our Pathways programs. As you know, we have, I'm just going to make Paul co-host. We have every career pathway designation that is available in the Commonwealth. Hopkins Academy has that, early college, and all of our career pathways. So we've increased Pathways enrollment overall by 23% since last year. We've increased enrollment of BIPOC students to 23%. It's increased by 3%. This is it's one of our goals that will continue to make sure that the enrollment reflects total enrollment. So you can see that it still does not reflect total school enrollment. So at Hopkins Academy, although I didn't disaggregate by grades 9 through 12, but let's just say roughly the numbers are probably close. You're talking BIPOC enrollment is 30% at Hopkins Academy and 23% of Pathways enrollment. So there's still a gap there we want to close. We saw a decrease, which we want to work on, of students designated as high needs enrolled in these programs. So we still want to look at the populations that are traditionally underrepresented. So we did some great work in Pathways this year, increasing overall enrollment, but I really want to keep my eyes on making sure that those students who are traditionally underrepresented in high quality college and career pathways are fully represented in ours. We've received funding for these programs. We submitted proposals and were granted these programs. I have status initiated under internship opportunities. So we do have students in a couple of trades internships in town, plumbing, different kinds of trades internships. But we're still working with MassHire on how we can make it more likely that our students will have access to these opportunities. And so an example of that, what we'll be looking at next year is, are there ways for us to help students to get theoretical knowledge in certain trades through artificial intelligence, virtual learning platforms, career credentialing platforms, and then go into an internship, right? Because that's where our students obviously do not have the competitive advantage of a student who's gone to a trade school in terms of getting one of those. But we do have some students in them, and we have identified local businesses who are willing to work with us. We have expanded Project Lead the Way. So this past year to high school computer science, and we'll continue that expansion into engineering and into biomedical. I have a link in there on high quality instructional materials. So we always want to ensure that our instructional materials meet HQIM standards. They do. We are continuing to invest in professional development in the computer sciences, in service learning, also investing in opportunities for students. So I've listed there just a few of the grant proposals that supported our work this year. We wanted to host international student groups. Our students really love that. And we did that this year. We'll be doing it again next year. And we continue. This past year, we are in our second year participating in a World Language Consortium. That's a really wonderful partnership that we're doing with Hatfield, Granby, and Amherst Public Schools. And that is to expand the number of students who achieve the seal of biliteracy in all of our districts, to celebrate that, and to strengthen our world language program, particularly for it's really great to have Amherst there. And the other three districts, like Granby and Hatfield, are one language districts. And it's really crucial to have this consortium because those teachers are singletons, right? There is nobody else teaching their subject in the district. So coming together has been really helpful. We secured grant funding to make that happen. And we've been invited for a third year of grant funding. And we're always looking to increase the number of students in internships. And I think we'll see a spike in that next year.
Sorry.
Sorry about that. Okay, under management and operations, under grant proposals, so we saw a 62% increase in grant awards from last year to this year. We kept a laser-like focus on safe and supportive schools. And so that is investing in restorative justice, professional development and training for all of our staff, implementing circle practice at Hopkins Academy, bringing circles down to the elementary school. Sarah Jabber and Michelle and Jen Dowd worked on that this year. We continue to implement responsive classroom at Hadley Elementary School, and positive behavioral interventions and supports at both schools. We are always looking to enhance our safety measures. So we continue to train and meet with our district and school-based safety teams. We went through all of our required drills this year and did a lot of after actioning on those drills. And as you know, we implemented the Equiture weapons detection system. And as part of that implementation, hence the reason that I'm sure they were very thrilled to have us try out this equipment, is that they're learning a lot and we're learning a lot in terms of what the equipment picks up and what it doesn't. We've even done some when students aren't present. We do various drills of people walking around the campus with things. And so we've been working with the company around what we're seeing and what improvements we'd like to see made with that. And we transitioned to a new student information management system. Sounds really boring. It is, and it's a huge lift. We continue to implement multi-tiered systems of support with Fidelity. So that's where we do this universal screening, making sure we identify quickly when students are not on track to meet grade level benchmarks in literacy, in math, in social and emotional development, and behavioral health. We have data teams that function in both buildings. I sit in on those meetings frequently. The teachers do an excellent job. Michelle facilitates those meetings. The principals participate, and they look at data, identify students who need supplemental support, identify specific individualized interventions for those students, and then progress monitor the impact of those interventions. We have a really robust system. That's not me, that's all the people who work here. And the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education is quick to point that out. I mean, hence the reason I think that we are invited, I was telling Humera, invited in to reapply for multiple years of grants. So they're very pleased with our system. Our capital plan, as you know, okay, our locker room, our designs are complete, but we will be continuing that. We have bid documents prepared and our town funding secured. Our engineering design and TA report for our energy conservation measures. Our engineering designs are roughly 70% complete. The TA report is not started because that requires 100% completion of engineering designs. However, and Chris will speak about this a bit too, when we get to business manager reports, but we do have the request for our qualifications on the central register, and we will bring to you all of the proposals that we receive from energy services companies, from ESCOs. And it's once we have an ESCO on board, you're going to want to make a decision at that point about what is the logical next step regarding designs and the TA report. The HES playground renovation, fantastic. Everybody did a great job on that. So the district did that. And pursuing applicable funding opportunities through MSBA, you see that's not implemented because unfortunately we learned that we were not eligible. The ground source heat pumps were not eligible for MSBA funding because we have steam piping. And we already talked about it. It didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense, but that was an email that I received directly from them. We've done a lot of work to try to engage with family and the community. Jen Dowd and folks at her school developed a wonderful newcomer resource guide. We've been invited by DESE to continue into a second year under that priority of supporting newcomers, supporting families who are experiencing homelessness. And so we have a guide and we're going to build more resources and supports. We did a great job, I think, of engaging with the community on capital projects. And when I say we, I mean all of you. We got substantial support for a whole bunch of projects, and that really is a direct result of the school committee facilitating these conversations and encouraging people to be a part of what we're trying to accomplish in the schools, and our spectacular principals and AD and Chris Desjardins doing great work. And we keep trying to expand our community and school events from, ambassadors for new families. And this is, I just want to give credit to the PTO also. What a phenomenal PTO and CPAC we have. I mean, all the ways that they reach out and try to engage families and try to have fun and have movie nights and information nights. And they just do great work. We got our funding for the playground. We are part of an early literacy consortium, a grant that we've been invited to apply for again next year. That's pretty big news. So we had year one of that early literacy consortium. It was very competitive. Our goal is to, with UMass Amherst, create a lab school for evidence-based literacy practices at Hadley Elementary School. DESE seems really excited by that idea, and I foresee that as something that the district will have as an accomplishment. We're still working on our approaches to energy efficiency. And then lastly, professional culture. We're still working with data teams. I already gave you an example of that. Regularly surveying staff for feedback on how they feel about how data teams are going, the quality of professional development, what they want from professional development, and also just asking them to weigh in on decisions, whether that's schedules or how we structure PD days and other things. And we're trying to create a lot of teacher-led leadership structures in positive behavioral interventions and supports and behavioral health, these literacy teams. That team is an example of teachers who conceivably, as we continue with this work, we're also hoping we can set up situations where we may be able to go after private foundation funding that would allow our teachers to have paid sabbaticals through a private foundation and mentor other teachers who want to learn some of these strategies. That's down the road, but we're planting those seeds now. Yeah, I think that is just about, and then the grants. So you can see our grant awards, our total awards in FY25, just over $1 million. In FY24, it was about 650,000. So we saw a 63% increase in total awards and 101% increase in competitive awards, fiscal year 25 over fiscal year 24. And so for you folks, I provided the performance ratings you've given in school year 23, 24, and 20. Oh, this is 25. So you will need to vote on a rating for each standard and then an overall.
Great. Thank you so much, Annie, for taking us through that. As you were speaking, I couldn't help but think about all the different amazing initiatives that you've led, and your focus down to the detail on what's strategic and important important to us. And I'll just give one anecdote. I remember being at the Massachusetts Association of School Committees conference, which has an overlapping day with MASS. And as y'all know, we're one of the early college campuses, but we've been one of the high schools that has had early college from almost the beginning. And Annie, just really her thoughtful comments and remarks always, make everyone around her think. And I remember the comment you made about like it's a wonderful program, and we have to figure out how to get kids that cannot afford to get their license early, how they're going to get to a community college to actually be able to take the class. And it's those kinds of thoughtful details that I think make you an exceptional superintendent. I'm going to assert to our team that you get exemplary status in each of the standards. I think you're hitting it out of the park. You continue to continuously improve. You will take crazy suggestions from all of us and be willing to brainstorm and look for ways to improve. Like Uber for Teens, for instance. I want you to look into that. Not every city has it, but maybe we can get it in Hadley, and maybe we can fundraise for that. And maybe some of our low-income students can find their way to GCC. But that's just an example. But really, I'm not surprised that you were one of the 3 superintendents selected for the highest honor from the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents this past May, the very prestigious President's Award for being among the 3 best in our state. We're very lucky to have you. One final thing I just want to say before inviting my colleagues to comment. From the announcement of that award, it reads, Annie's sharp wit, intellect, and her ability to analyze and articulate many of the complex challenges we face in education today provide a meaningful contribution to our association and her colleagues. Annie is broadly respected by her peers. She consistently makes a point of reaching out to her colleagues who may need a helping hand or words of support. And I see that in you. I see that you're, a leader amongst leaders. Again, we are very lucky to have you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I
Here,
wonder,
here.
yeah, Christine, Ethan, Tara, Paul.
I just echo everything that Humira said. We are very lucky to have you.
Thank you.
I'll say, I mean, I'm with you, Humira, and I support your recommendation. I think one of the things, there's a bunch of things that stand out. One of the things that I am impressed by and get excited by is kind of in this time where there are concerns about school funding. You see other districts struggling to hit their budgets, towns nearby. We're able to kind of maintain, but also when I look at the grant awards, I look at the increase this past year and year over year. It just makes me happy because I know that for the children and for the families in this town, they're in good hands, right? And we know that even when the purse is getting tightened a little bit, that Annie's out there looking for other opportunities to bring money into the town, to bring money into the school, so that we can continue the programs and the things that we're trying to do for these students.
I'll echo Humira and Ethan and add on to that, beyond any fiscal considerations, just in general, you're always looking for new opportunities, always finding the edge and that little light where something small and unknown could become huge. And we always seem to be leading the way in so many different avenues. So thank you. And I agree with your rating, Humira.
I'll chime in and just say echo that. Thank you, Humira, for that good overview too. I wanted to shout out that award. Annie, I haven't had a chance to chat with you since then. Congratulations. It's, one thing I was thinking about, I was talking to my wife Allison about this too, is that I know you have them, but you never seem you have bad days. And what a great leadership model you exemplify for all of us, especially in a job that you look regionally is quite challenging, right? You see a lot of other superintendents across our region departing for multiple reasons, and you're just such a great steady hand and have been for so long that hopefully we never take you for granted, your excellence and your good cheer and your wisdom. So thank you for being with us for another year. As others have said, we're definitely very lucky to have you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
I always learn something when I talk with you as well. It's always a joy.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Annie, any final words? You're about to complete your 11th year with us. We're just
Yeah.
almost
So
a decade.
Yeah,
And
that's what I say all the time. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I am so fortunate. I am humbled to work with remarkable people. I believe that you can't have a high functioning district without high functioning schools. You can't have, there's no way that one person shines on a team and everybody else does terribly. And there's no way, right, that everybody does well and one person doesn't. So we all do this together. And the work that I'm so proud of, I just want to underscore. It's my job to create the conditions where talented people can do good work and accomplish amazing things. So I'm grateful I can create those conditions, but I really want to be clear. People who make it happen are all those grants, $1 million. It's a lot of work for a guy named Chris Desjardins. It's a lot of work. Ask him on June 30th, the last day of the fiscal year, how much work that is for him. And all those capital projects, and our principals and our teachers and our parents and our families and our PTO and our CPAC and the school committee. You can't have a high functioning district and have either, there's no such thing as a high functioning superintendent and a poor functioning school committee, or vice versa, right? So it's absolutely a team effort. I'm just grateful that we all just contribute and we work together and keep our eyes on the prize. It's a great place to work. It's a great place to work. So thank you very much. You guys do get to vote. You need to vote on, make a motion and vote, and then I can have them.
all right, do I hear a motion to approve an exemplary rating for each of the 4 standards as well as the overall rating?
So moved?
Is there a second? Was that you, Paul?
Yeah, seconded.
Okay, very good. And all in favor?
Hi.
Hi.
Thank
All
you.
right, wonderful. Thank you, Annie. Okay, we're going to move next to school committee appointments. Believe it or not, Annie reminded me that the election just happened in May. Congratulations, Chris Pip. We're so glad that you ran again and that you're with us for another 3 years. It's that time to vote school committee appointments again. As a reminder, I'm chair presently. Paul has been serving as vice chair. Tara's been in the role of CES. I've been playing the role of finance person. Christine, you've been playing the role of capital with a backup person of Paul, who has a lot of contextual knowledge around some of the capital work. We may be looking for an additional backup in case Paul is traveling and Chris, you're out, but just, it's good to have a deep bench. And policy, Ethan and Christine, you've been serving in that role. Thank you so much. So I would love to have a quick conversation about what we'd like to do for this next year. I am happy to continue to serve as chair if you will have me, and I also welcome anyone else to also say, hey, I'm interested in being chair. So I'm going to open the floor up for discussion about any of these roles?
I feel like our meetings run very smoothly month to month, Humira, and I feel like you were really have your hand on the needle there with everything going on, being a part of MASC. You're really connected, really in touch, and if you're willing to entertain and nobody objects, I would love for you to stay as chair. I think you're a fantastic leader for the committee.
Thank you, Tara.
I second that.
Third, you do a great job, Humira. Thank you.
Mhm.
Both
Thank
in
you.
running us, as Tara said, but also being connected to the broader community, which is so important. Thank you.
I appreciate it. All right, I'm happy to serve. And for vice chair, Paul, how are you feeling about vice chair duties?
I'm happy to continue doing it. Honestly, Humira, you do it all, right? You do such a great job. You don't need to do it. So I'm just there and can't say that it really, it's a big lift at all. So if somebody else wants to step in, I mean, I should be clear. I think this is my final year, right? I think this is the end of my third term, coming on 9 years. So if somebody wants to step in as vice chair and maybe think about the future in that regard, happy to play whatever role the team wants.
Thank you, Paul. Let's take a moment to ask, is anyone interested in putting their hat in the ring for vice chair for this next year?
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. That was terrible.
Right, well, how about this? How about let's consider this planting the seed, because we
There you
will,
go.
we
There
will
you
need a
go.
new vice chair at least for next year.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's just keep that in mind when we talk about it next year. Thank you, Paul, for continuing to serve for another year.
Sure, of course.
Thanks, Paul.
For CES, Tara, how's that been feeling? The responsibilities of that and what you're learning? And
It's good. I'll give you my update right now because it's super quick, and I guess it would impact the going forward. We did have a resignation of the executive director, and last week we appointed an interim director in our meeting. So the search will begin for a new executive director for CES. And they have asked for board members' participation in one or two groups of individuals to help lead the way on that. So I guess it would impact, I think I'm up next year. I think Ethan and I are up next year. As of now, I intend to rerun, but you never know if we will be running unopposed or not. I'm happy to stay in the role unless somebody else either A, wants to have a foot back in it, given the current circumstances of where CES is at, or if somebody else wants to dive in head first with where they're at. If somebody else wants to, I'm happy to step aside, but I'm also happy to stick with it, knowing that, hopefully it's wrapped up before elections next year.
I imagine that they would welcome the stability of having you continue in that role, but also I think it would be great for others on the team to have that experience. And Christine and Ethan, I look at both of you, you both have a lot of K-12 experience that you bring. So I think let's really think openly about, does anyone else have a desire to be on the CES board at this juncture?
They meet the fourth Wednesday of the month. We just had our last meeting in June. We won't meet again till September.
They
Just
serve
to
dinner.
keep that. That's stopping.
Oh, that's stopping.
because given some, financial hardships that have arisen in the past, the board has decided to stop having dinner served to conserve.
Do its part.
Yeah,
Understood.
so, but it's still lovely to go to, and it's still a great collaboration. And I think it's a really interesting time to be at CES right now. Both with kind of that financial uproar that was discussed a few months ago, and now changing a leadership. So if somebody feels passionate, then
Well, seeing no takers yet, I nominate you, Tara, to continue in the role. And I really do think that a steady hand on the tiller while they are searching for an executive director with a board that truly understands the mission and the various offerings of the organization. I think you would make a great fit, someone who could contribute to that search. And I'm also confident that if you run again, that you will run unopposed, because in my view, there are no smarter, more capable committee members than you and Ethan. So I'm going to optimistically suggest that you'll likely continue and see that search to successful conclusion, and be able to contribute to bringing someone to the helm that is truly worthy of the excellent organization that it is. Thank you.
sure.
Finance, I'm happy to do it. It honestly wasn't a huge lift, I would say, in large part due to Annie and Chris's involvement with the town. So unless someone is like, I really want to sink my teeth into finance, I'll continue to do that. And capital,
I'm happy to do that.
thank you, Christine. Paul, you'll be the pinch runner in case Christine is unable. And is there a third? Again, just, let's use the baseball analogy of that deep bench of pitchers. Who do we have, just in case neither Christine or Paul is able to make it to a town capital conversation?
I'm happy to be part of the deep bench. Finance isn't, I would say it's not the heaviest, or not, I mean, the policy isn't the heaviest lift. So if need be, I'm happy to help.
Thank you, Ethan. That would be great. And policy, Christine and Ethan, how's that working for both of you?
Great.
Great.
Are you willing to continue?
Yes.
Sure. Yep.
All right. So let's vote in our slate. I will continue to serve as chair. Paul, thank you for serving as vice chair. Tara, CES. I'll continue with finance. Capital will have a third backup. So Christine is primary, Paul secondary, Ethan is tertiary. And policy will be Christine and Ethan. Do I hear a motion to approve that slate?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Okay.
Aye.
All right, very good. Thank you, everyone. Superintendent updates. Annie, is there anything to highlight in particular on this wonderful weekly update that you give us?
Yes, just some fun things. The radio interview that occurred the week of June 9th, the link to that is there. Some of these other things I spoke about, but we were awarded this past week a very competitive grant from Massachusetts Life Sciences Center. This will pay for equipment in our life sciences and biomedical program and professional development for teachers. I was just shy of $50,000. That's for next year.
That's terrific. Congratulations. Really good news. All right. We're going to move next to the recognition triangle. And this is the one that recognizes all donors on one of the sides. Chris, can you share with us what you have here?
Sure. So attached to the agenda is the most recent proof, I guess, of all three sides of the sign. The last time we discussed this, there were a few suggestions made. Those have all been incorporated. And it was suggested that we have a different color on each side of the sign. So as you can see from the proof. There are different colors on each side. So basically, at this point in time, it's really just looking for your approval, I guess, so I can order it and get it installed.
Chris, this looks fabulous. Thank you so much for all the back and forth. I think that you've really gotten it right. I have one minor suggestion, which is on the white facing side,
Mhm.
in the second paragraph, in the second sentence, that use just have one little space taken away, so it's left justified along with all the other.
Oh, yeah.
It's a minor thing,
Nope, good catch.
but barring that, it looks so good. Thank you. I welcome other comments or suggestions.
I think it does look great. I do find a couple typos, Chris. I don't know if you want me to, I can fix those
Absolutely.
to you. Chris, it'd be great for you to read through. I think especially on the text on the third slide with the history.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, Christine, was a former English teacher, to make sure you're okay with that language. But it looks great. There's just a couple little things here and there,
Yeah, thank
Chris,
you.
that
Christine,
I'll let you know.
if you wouldn't mind getting, like, you don't have to do it now, but thank you for, yeah, if you could take just a like really critical look at the words, and then I'd like to get a vote for approval and moving forward, so that with whatever changes come to Chris Desjardins separately, he can run with this and not wait another month. So I wonder, are there any other questions or comments before we take a vote?
Looks great.
Yeah, I love the aesthetics.
Terrific. Do I hear a motion to approve this tri-facing sign for the Hopkins Academy fields, barring the few edits that'll happen in language and left justification?
So move.
Yeah. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Terrific. Thank you, everyone. All
Okay,
right.
if everyone could just send me an email with whatever typos or changes might be needed, I would appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
And you're up next with all the financials.
Okay, so just a quick update on the geothermal project. So that is in the works in terms of finding, well, actually, going out to bid, I should say, for the ESCO. And right now we're in the process of, we have to file with the state before we can go out to bid. 3 years history of kilowatt hours used per building, gallons of oil, gallons of water. We have most of it together already, but 3 years worth is a lot to go through. So we have all of that, and I just need to submit that electronically, which I should be able to get done this week. And then we can just move forward from there. But it does have to be filed with the state first. So we will get that done.
Chris, thank you so much. First of all, I'm so glad that we have you full time to do just that alone, 3 years worth of all of that digging, and then all the grant reporting. Thank you. As Annie said earlier, like, that's a lot on your plate. The ripple effect to you is huge. One thing that we may want to consider, the landscape for credits on solar and geothermal is changing. We're seeing that at the federal level, and the putting out a request for bidding on the ESCO is probably a little bit more strategic, less specific to the geothermal project, and probably more macro level savings on investments in energy and investments that will help return a better investment for Hopkins for the money it already spends on oil and fuel electricity, et cetera. So that might be solar, that might be geothermal, it might be a whole array of things. I know we've not had the committee conversation yet on the geothermal price tag that was laid out for us. And we will at some point. That's not going to be tonight. I still have 6:30 in my sights as an end, as a goal for us. But just a reminder that we're going out to bid for an ESCO. Can you just, for the viewing public, there's no cost to having an ESCO. The ESCO gets paid when we make an investment in moving forward, and they're compensated by what they save us. So there is a payback that is inherently built in, and when we win, they win. And it may or may not have anything to do with a geothermal investment for Hopkins Academy.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line with it is that by doing this, we pretty much have a vendor lined up to take care of these things. You know, the whole bid process would be done, and we would, for lack of a better term, form a relationship with a specific vendor, which is a valuable thing to have, you know, rather than pulling in somebody different for every little project we have. Sometimes it's good to have somebody really know the district's needs, know the buildings inside and out. And this will achieve that, certainly, where, you know, just say, you know, next week we decide to go geothermal, which I know is is not in the cards next week. But nevertheless, I mean, you know, that's when we you know, get the designs to them, and of course then they're going to have to go through them as well. But it just gets the ball rolling super quick. So very nice to have that lined up.
Indeed. Thank you again for pulling that together. The other item on your list here is disposition of assets.
Yes, so every summer we try to do some heavy duty cleaning of the buildings. And one of those things is just to get rid of items that are no longer used. So I did ask the principals to submit lists along with the building secretaries, because they know probably more than anyone with what unused stuff, for lack of a better word, is just taking up closet space, cabinet space. For example, we have some equipment outside of HES by the dumpsters, and it's not a good look, quite honestly. You know, it's just not attractive to look at. A lot of it's hidden by the dumpsters, but some of it's not. It's all visible from the road. And that's the kind of stuff where we really would just like to get a couple of big dumpsters and have the custodians just haul all of that stuff to the dumpster. As always, I know how important it is to the committee, and it is to me as well, where if I can find someone who will take recyclable items, we certainly do that. You know, we have the one person that Tara had given us that takes the steel whenever we have some. So, you know, we'll definitely do that. But it just clears out an awful lot of space that's just taken up by things that's no longer either usable or used. Like one of the items on there is like light bulbs. We've got boxes and boxes of light bulbs for lighting fixtures that were replaced, you know, 10 years ago. And most likely those light bulbs just aren't usable. We can offer them to the town, but a lot of them are pretty specific, and, you know, but we'll give it a shot to, you know, see if somebody can use them. But that's taking up a lot of room in the custodial rooms that we just don't need. Furniture that's broken. There's been a very thrifty Hadley School Department, I will say, in that when a desk breaks, the broken piece gets thrown away, the rest of it gets saved for parts. But boy, we just have an awful lot of parts at this point in time. And, you know, so we'll probably save 5 of each style or something. We don't need 50 of each style, you know, that kind of thing. So some of those you'll see by the numbers. I just put XX because it's unknown how many we have. You know, broken furniture. There's a lot of chairs and things. We'll just, you know, get rid of them. I know town meeting, for example, people have commented on the chairs in the cafeteria at Hopkins. the backs are split, they pinch people's backs. And so those are the type of things that we would like to, get rid of and replace them with some new furniture. So just working on cleanup.
Great. Thank you, Chris. I will say that if you have one of those two CD Walkmans that still works, I would welcome it. It would bring a lot of nostalgia to me, and memories of my teen years. Do I hear a motion to dispose of these assets as presented?
So moved.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I was
Terrific.
thinking the same thing, Humira, about the cassette player.
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
pull out some of my high school cassettes, to be honest with you. I'll make you a mixtape, Ethan.
All those mixed.
I'm here for it. I am all the way here.
All right, all right.
There you go, Chris.
All right, cassette player
Right
and
on
CD
time.
players, got them.
Yep, very good. Okay, we're gonna move next to a review of the bullying prevention and intervention policy. This is second reading of JICFB. Ethan.
Yeah, so we did, this is the second reading. This is the updated bullying prevention policy. I would just draw your attention to the main thing is the one word that we're removing, which is down there toward the end of the policy on page 3 of 5. We're just removing the word viable so that it'll just read upon receipt of a report, not a viable report. Some language that the lawyer felt was important to tweak.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, very good. Any questions or comments about this? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve policy JICFB?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thanks, Ethan.
Thank you. Okay, we have some additional action items. There's the approval of the payroll and expense warrants for June 2025. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. We are going to approve some Unit A, D, and bus driver contracts and settlement agreements. We're going to attempt to do this in open session. Annie has dropped the links to the documents in the agenda. Unit A was one that was handled by Christine, I believe. Is that right, Christine?
Yes.
Is there anything that you'd like to point our attention to as it relates to the documents that you've shared?
I can also help on big
Yeah.
things, if that's okay, Christine.
Great.
So I can
Yeah.
do some of that. If the school committee wants additional details, I can certainly ask.
Absolutely.
But big things, first of all, thank you, Christine Pip. This is as you read about, negotiations are challenging across the Commonwealth. I'm sure you're well aware. There are lots of teacher strikes, all kinds of things. So really appreciate Christine, really appreciate that Hadley Education Association. Big takeaway is the COLA that was settled on was 9 over 3 years, or 3, 3, and 3. This is in keeping with what most town contracts settled at, and is in keeping with statewide data on COLAs in teacher contracts across the state. There were really, although it looks like there's a lot of markups to language, there weren't really big, I mean, huge major substantive things that changed with language. The biggest bit was the COLA, and then changing around some of the stipended positions. The HEA was keen to provide instructional leadership opportunities for Hadley Elementary School and to redistribute some of the available opportunities so elementary teachers had more opportunities. Most of these usually are at the high school level. I think that was really the big pieces there. Yeah, those were the majors.
Does anyone have any questions or comments about the Unit A contract, stipend, and MOU teacher evaluation as presented? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to approve the 3 documents shared here?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Terrific. Thank you so much. And again, I echo what Annie said. Christine, thank you so much for leading on this. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
And we're going to move next to the approval of the Unit D contract. This was you, I believe, Tara?
Yep, so this is a long document. Really quickly, Annie, correct me if I say something inappropriate or miss something. It has been a little bit of time. But a lot of the changes that were made were updates similar to Unit A, so changing ESP to Unit D members, changing language and things. And a lot of other things that we looked at were really trying to make it more consistent with Unit A. That's most of what we went through. The most notable change, I'm scrolling, is their wage scale. So we have added on that lane and the wage scale for them. And then remind me, we dropped the first 2 steps and added a step on the end at the bottom. And added that lane. Those were the biggest changes that were made. I think on their wage scale and in general. Overall, I forget, we had 4 meetings, maybe 4 or 5, I can't remember. Everybody was very cordial. It went really very smoothly. We laid out what, made it clear what's the most important thing for us to be working on, and went really well.
Thank you, Tara, for all the effort that went into bringing this to a successful proposal. Any questions for Tara or Annie about Unit D? Seeing none, do I hear a motion to approve the Unit D contract as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Terrific.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
doing that, Tara.
Okay. And the third and final one is the bus driver settlement agreement, FY 26-27. And I believe this was Ethan?
Really, really
Yes,
hard,
and-
Ethan. Why don't you tell them? Those are really hard.
It was very long, very drawn out, exhausting 20 minutes of my life.
Literally 20 minutes.
It was great. I think obviously being at the end of the negotiations of all the other units made it a little bit easier, but very straightforward. As you can see, not nearly as long a document that you have to look at. Pretty straightforward. Raises 3%, 9/3. And then as you see the subsection moving unused personal days to sick time.
All right. Any questions for Ethan? Do I hear a motion to approve the bus contract as presented?
So moved.
All right, is
Seconded.
there a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Terrific.
May I
Thank you
just
so-
add,
Yes,
Humira,
of
just very quickly, I know I've spoken with you about this. I think it's worthwhile for the committee just to hear, thank you again to the HEA, and this is also a professional association who at the conclusion of negotiations took a vote among themselves, I believe, and talked about how they wanted to invest in signs, which they had wanted to put on public property, but the reason why they can't is because it would trigger open forum. Right, so we can't, but they can put them at their homes. And I believe that their sentiment is that they'd like those signs to read, thank you, Town of Hadley, and thank you, Hadley School Committee. So we are quite fortunate to have the education association that we do in Hadley Public Schools. They are top notch. They are professional people. They advocate fiercely for their membership, and they do so with intelligence, with courtesy, and with grace. And we are very lucky to work.
So lucky. Thank you to HEA. All right. We're going to move next to school committee updates and general announcements. Playgrounds, there should be some rubber coating that's going down, I imagine, CPAC, and you mentioned CES already. So what's this?
So CES set, CPAC no updates. It's summertime, so I'll be excited to see what they do in the fall. Playgrounds, yay, we are excited. I'm hopeful. It sounds like I reached out to Chris today and we're all set up. There were just a few little snafus. As Jen would tell you, there were a few lakes in the large playground that had to be mitigated. And so all that is figured out and we should be looking into a July installation. More to come on it. I'm going to get over there and take some pictures and I'll share some pictures along the way.
Wonderful. That's great news. On the finance side, there's nothing to report. As you know, town meeting happened and the budget got approved. And so financially, we're in good stead. Fields. It's been a wet summer, spring, summer. Paul, Chris, what's the report there?
Yeah, Chris, I'm a bit out of the loop. I keep touring after all that rain, and it's pretty good. There are some spots still, but I'm curious, Chris.
I know our varsity.
Yeah,
playoff
I mean,
had to be
it-
moved to the JV field.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, our varsity playoff game had been moved to the JV field, and I know there were a lot of parents remarking about our $1 million fields, and it's one of those things that comes up in corners. So I want to make sure that we're keeping our eye on what is the current status, what needs to be addressed. It might be in the spirit of continuous improvement, we should not rest on our laurels and we should look at what strategies should we be undertaking to really address the issues in a more sustainable and permanent way. But I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so yeah, there were a couple of spots that were particularly bad. We knew about behind home plate on the varsity baseball field, and that seemed to have improved a lot this year. It wasn't nearly as bad as it was in the past, but we still may put a drain behind there. The worst area is in kind of in center field on the varsity baseball field, and I guess kind of very deep center field on the softball JV field. You can see it because it's a lower spot on the field, which had to be that kind of slope to allow for drainage, but it's not draining enough. Unfortunately, it really kind of seems that when they did the plans for the drainage, they did test bores, and I have to tell you, these grounds are wildly different in what you see. That was just evidenced when we did the test drill for the geothermal, and they had, I don't remember how much, they went down 40 feet of topsoil and then they hit clay. And then 200 feet away, I know they had dug a trench for the electrical and they went down 3 feet and hit clay. So I'm imagining that when they did these test bores and determined that drains 20 feet apart were sufficient, it was probably not done in that particular area, and so that is the reason why it just seems to hold the water. So I did reach out to a local vendor to see what it would cost to get some additional drains put in and tied in with what we have. We did make that change over on the varsity, on the JV boys field. That was kind of considered to be the wet corner of the grounds. And so we had them add drains every 10 feet. So we basically just put an additional drain in between each one that was there. And that has helped immensely. So we're hoping that just adding a few drains at the 10-foot distance will help in a similar way in that spot. It's really one bad spot on the field. And we are aware of it. So I'm just waiting at this time for pricing.
Great, thank you. Keep us posted. Look forward to
will.
hearing more in July. This is a good time of year to get it done, as you know, summertime. So it would be great to get it done before soccer season and to be as exhaustive in our analysis and remedy as possible. So thanks for
We
keeping me
are
posted.
fully aware that it's a high profile project, and it's a disappointment to students and parents when they can't play on a certain field. So
Absolutely.
we are aware of it and we're working on it.
And it's, it's still early days. And so it's a part of executing on it well. So we're not gonna, it's not done. It's just continuing to get there. It's a farmer's field, right? Flooding was the norm. I'm sure they were happy with it. It's not like we didn't know what it was when we decided to take on an expansion into these farmers fields. Okay. Moving on to capital, Christine, I don't think there's
Nothing to
anything.
report.
Report. Okay,
Nope.
and policy, Ethan, we've already just talked about something, so no additional things. General announcements, Shardul is not here, who is the Finance Committee liaison to School Committee. David Phil is no longer going to be the Select Board person to our committee, and we look forward to hearing who the Select Board liaison will be. The next item is executive session, which we're not going to have one because we've already discussed our contract stuff and have approved it. So next meeting dates are, let's see, we're looking at July.
Asking for this. Yeah, I'm asking for the 21st because I will be traveling on the last Monday.
All right, well, will everyone just give their calendars a quick look to see if July 21st will work?
Yeah, I'm free.
Yeah.
Should be available.
Yes, that'll work for me.
Thank you all. I appreciate that.
Welcome. All right. So we're at 6:32. I think that is not bad. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your summer evening. We will see you again on July 21st at 5:30. And will there be a policy meeting before that, Annie?
There might be. That's all. It's not on your hardworking policy people. That's entirely falls on me. So it's
Terrific.
a mystery. Let me
right.
tantalize you. There's definitely regular school committee at 5.
Policy just might be at the beach at that point. We don't know.
That's right. Stay tuned. And right on cue, lights turned on in the